Welcome to the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast, where our goal is to help you increase your reputation as a leader, increase your ability to influence others, and increase your ability to fully engage your team to deliver remarkable results. Hi, I'm Perry Holly, a Maxwell Leadership Facilitator and Coach.
And I'm Chris Cody, Executive Vice President with Maxwell Leadership. Welcome and thank you for joining. As we get started, if you want to download the learner guide for today, maybe you have a question or a comment from a previous episode, we would love for you to go to maxwellleadership.com/podcast, click on this episode, and there you can fill out a form and leave us a question that you might have, maybe a comment. Maybe it's even something that your team was having a conversation with. A lot of things that we hear that we love is they're listening to these podcasts during the week, and then as you guys have your team meetings, spending the first few minutes just kind of debriefing. What did we learn? What did we hear? So we love that. And if we can help create any clarity, we would love to hear from you. Well, today's topic is, are you keeping score? Now, Perry and I both are competitive. We both love sports. And so immediately I thought, man, what are we talking about here? I got all excited. Let's compete. Yeah, let's go. And this is really a concept taken out of John Maxwell's new book, High Road Leadership. And when you think about it, this is a personal question. Are you keeping score of the rights and the wrongs that have been done to you by others, whether it's on your team, inside the organization, or even outside of that? And that's a tough question to begin to think about, but we're going to unpack it today and talk a little bit about, hey, how do you not do that and become a high road leader?
Well, High Road Leader by John Maxwell is a fantastic read. It was really hit me personally. And this one, the reason I picked it as a topic is it's personal to me. I've struggled with this quite a bit. And sometimes I guess when you're competitive and you want to be the best, you're trying to be in there, it's easy to do that. But I know you can do a lot of damage to your influence with others if they feel like you're always kind of, why not me? Why did you pick them? And I said, I was always keeping track of who got certain assignments, who got to speak on that stage, who didn't, why didn't they invite me for that? And how's this going over here? I know you and I've talked about it, how it affected me being that way with you. But I think it really is low road behavior, and I don't like it. And so I've really been trying to grow up a bit and change that. But I think this idea that John brings up about keeping scores is a good one.
Well, I appreciate the vulnerability, but if we're just being honest, those that are listening or watching, I think we would all say we do the same thing. There's lots of even clients, not just you. It's not just you. I think about clients that had conversations with, especially when you talk about trips and different shout outs and whatever it might be. And so it resonates with all of us. So when you do this though, and you do it on a continual basis, it has a negative impact on how you carry yourself, your emotions. And so it may appear to be a way where you're trying to not get behind in life. Or it may look like it's a way to get ahead in leadership. But I think the reality is the practice not only drags you down, but it drags others down. And so here are some ways that we have from John's book, Perry put in the lesson, it can really hurt people if you do this. So number one, keeping score puts guilt on others. Yeah. And man, that's a manipulative act. Low road leaders will try to position themselves in a way where the other person will never be able to feel like they get caught up with you. Like it's just almost unattainable, and you become like you're the inferior person in that relationship. The second way it can hurt people is keeping score creates feelings of unfairness. Here is where, someone who intentionally gives while keeping score so that later you can collect on that debt. Like what's your motive? We're going to talk a little about this. What's your motive behind, the things that you do, and are you keeping score because of it? And that is really the whole manipulation part. And we talk a lot about it, Maxwell Leadership. There's a fine line between influence and manipulation. And when you're doing this, you're just manipulating the relationship.
Yeah. Number three was an act of control. If you're trying to keep score, why didn't I get this? Why do you get that? How many times did you get it and I didn't get it? It's some act of control that, like you said, it speaks, you owe me. And so I'm always thinking about what's owed me because somebody else got it that time. When am I going to get that? Another one, number 4 was it breeds entitlement, that I deserve these things, and begin to believe that people that are undeserving are getting it. I deserve. If you're getting it, I deserve it. And this entitlement, just really, I'm thinking what captured my attention about this is how little it aids your influence building with others. It makes you look small. It makes you sound small, and that you are really out for yourself. Back to that motivation piece.
So you had mentioned that you've dealt with this as we kind of kicked off this lesson of keeping score. How did you become aware of it? And then what are the action steps that, when you said it was personal, that you took to begin to change it?
Yeah, I started, actually when I was much younger, was keeping track of who got what. I was a sales guy when I started out, and so who got what accounts, and then why didn't I get that account? Or coming in with to the coaching world, is that we engage with a lot of clients, and why does someone get a certain client? Why do they always get the high profile client and I don't get the high profile client? Then getting on stage, I became a professional speaker, and then you get invited to be on stages, but then why are they getting invited to the main room and I have to speak in the back room? And I think we've talked about that before here, saying, why am I not on the big stage? Why am I only on 1,000 little stages? Wait a minute, I've been on 1,000 little stages. That's not
right.
Where's your impact? But I'm not thinking about the good part of that. I'm thinking about, why am I not get what I deserve? And I'm not pulling for the others the way I want to be. I think the high road leadership is that I want, if you're winning, I want to pull for you winning. You winning doesn't make me lose.
Right.
And I think for me, for a long time, it was, if you're getting it, I'm not, and it becomes a very zero-sum game. Somebody's got to get it, and I want it. And that is not, it's not very attractive to that.
Well, John talks about in high road leadership very distinctly some steps, and I know that it's been impactful to you. And so some of the steps about how we can get away from this, we just want to bring to your attention and bring them out in this conversation. So number one that we want to share with you is keeping track without keeping score. Now, this is not a play on words. This is really deep, like if you begin to think about it. And so by definition, keeping score means, man, it's the competition with others, kind of how we started the podcast off. Hey, we're going to compete. What's the score? And people keep score to keep track of who the winner and the loser is, right? So I love that thought. Keeping track is about my behavior. Keeping score is about yours. Keeping track is about the management of my life, making sure certain that I do things the right way for the right reasons. That's keeping track. Keeping score, that's more about the manipulation of your life, controlling you, fostering guilt, some of the things you've talked about, creating unhealthy comparisons, increasing emotional baggage, and then prompting feelings of, man, this is just not right. This is unfair. And so there's a difference between the keeping score and keeping track.
Yeah, I love that.
Hey, podcast listeners. Many of you listening right now would probably love the autonomy that comes with owning your own business or becoming a coach that helps other businesses succeed. Well, we have a phenomenal strategy where you are 100% in control of your own business, earning income on your own terms, and have access to the people, tools, and resources you need to build a thriving leadership development business. When you become a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team member, you join a global community of entrepreneurs led by our expert team of mentors and faculty, including John C. Maxwell. You'll also get one of the top leadership certifications in the world next to your name, giving you the boost you need to get started. Visit us online at maxwellleadership.com/join the team to find out more.
Another one is forgiving everyone, because John said everybody deserves forgiveness. But forgiveness is not about keeping score. It's really about, he says, about losing count. That it's okay, that high road leaders forgive others without placing conditions on them. They make the choice because it not only releases the other person from any harm they have caused, but because it releases you, the forgiver. Forgiveness allows you to be free from the nightmares of the past so you can reclaim your dreams of the future. So I like this, as saying this, and I think if I'm keeping score, I always felt like you're trying to something against me.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, they're not even, I hear John talk about forgiveness. It says you're stewing at home and they're out dancing. They don't even know what they've done.
Can't remember.
So, yeah. I love this, letting it go, that it doesn't matter. Am I doing the best I can do, put myself in the best place to win, but pull for you. I forgive any grievances against me.
Yeah.
There's probably not been that many.
Yeah. Number 3 is practice the platinum rule. So we know what the golden rule is, right? Treat others as you like to be treated. When it comes to the platinum rule, we want to treat others better than they treat us. We use the platinum rule sometimes in leadership as well. And we say, hey, we need to lead people the way they need to be led, which this is down that boat, which is, man, we want to treat others better than they actually are treating us. This is the essence of not keeping score, right? You are giving more than you are receiving, and you're doing it with the right motive, right? Mm-hmm. It's complete essence of high road leadership. And I've had the privilege of riding shotgun by John for several years, several situations, both personnel, internal, external, all that stuff. And I've seen him do it over and over again. And I'll be like, well, that's not how I would have done it, right? He's like, well, let me tell you. And he just kind of brings it back, right? The essence of high road leadership. And it means not keeping a record of wrongs done to us or retaliating or holding grudges. It means being kind to others, even if they are unkind or indifferent to us.
Well, tell me, as a leader, you see this from someone on your team. You see, I mean, I know I've sat in the executive seat where people have come to me telling you, you're not treating me right, or this is not fair, or I'm not getting the opportunities, or somebody else on the team is taking all the premier slots to go and coach or to teach or to speak. How do you address that? Do you confront that? Is that a coaching moment? Is it just a small person, you let them go?
Yeah, I think everybody deserves to be led well.
Yeah, okay.
And as we've had in the past, Chris Fuller, and even just digging into some of the understandings of how they're wired and why they're wired. And then for me, it's about asking questions to get them to a place to realize that they have contributed. They are contributing. They are receiving certain things that maybe they aren't, just in a different way. But I also have a tendency on the negative side of this to be very optimistic. So if someone, and I think about this in my personal relationships, right, with my wife, it's like, hey, well, this just doesn't seem right. And I'm like, yeah, but look at this, and it's okay. It all kind of washes. I tend to go that way. And so when it's in a coaching moment like that, I got to make sure that I dial back in and truly understand the root at where it's coming from. Because ultimately, I think if I can get to the root of where it's coming from, it's different than what is showing up in that conversation about what's bothering them. Mm-hmm. And so I tend to ask a lot of questions and try to be very curious about why they're feeling that way, and then try to help them work through that.
Yeah, and I love that. And it's somewhat of a self-awareness tact. Is this helping someone with the awareness that you come across this way?
Yeah.
But I remember being a sales guy and having a quota, and then I'd sell a deal and try to beat your deal or whatever. And then one day it occurred to me that you selling something doesn't hurt me at all. It helps the team. It helps the company. I have a different territory. Why am I competing? And John would teach, that we need to complete each other, not compete with each other. But good, healthy competition is okay. But when it comes unhealthy, is I'm trying to win over you. And then I started thinking about John Wooden and some of his teaching around his players. Said he never talked about beating anybody. He never talked about winning. He never talked about the score. He only talked about you becoming the better version of yourself than yesterday. And that really resonated with me, is that why am I competing with other people on the team? If you get a bigger coaching client or you get a bigger stage to speak on, does that affect me? No. But am I growing to the point where, why am I not the person you're inviting up there? Could I get better to do that? And I wonder what you think about, I was also applying the ideas of abundance thinking versus scarcity thinking. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, this is something, again, because I've had the privilege to be in Maxwell Leadership for so long, I have not seen a more abundant thinker as well as giver than John Maxwell. I mean, down to anything that's mine is yours, use it. And as a company, sometimes we go, hey, John, like someone is using this over here. It's like, it's okay. It's all right. Like they must need it, and you get to this place where, and he doesn't keep score of that. And so I think that in life as in general, personally and professionally, I think the more abundance mindset you can have for others, to your point. And that's what you're saying over and over. I want to celebrate for you. I'm still, listen, we're as competitive as they get. And so we're going to keep track, right, of did I perform better myself year over year than keeping score, of who's getting what account,
I perform better
right?
than you.
Right. Like this is, like we said earlier in the notes you gave us, it's about me. And I want to continue to improve that. And too many times, I think we see this now a lot in upcoming leaders where they automatically want that role or that position. And John would say things like, well, I know you want that, but are you willing to do what I did in order to do what I do? And so, you can get into questions like that when people begin to, and some of it is fair. Some of it could be very well justified in the conversation. And then you just got to keep digging to find out what that root is. But at the end of the day, when you stay in that mode, the only person that I think really hurts from it more than anybody else is you. Like you said earlier, like you become negative. You feel your self-talk in a bad way. And that's not healthy for you as an individual or a leader.
And I think that scarcity mindset, there's only enough for me. And if you're taking something, you must be taking from me. And I'm going to hold back versus abundance, that there's plenty for all of us. And I'm pulling for you. And it really is a bit about grace, that I extend grace to others and they extend grace to me. I'm going to win some, you're going to win some. But our main goal is to be to get better, to be the best version of ourselves we can, and grow that tomorrow so that I add more value to the team. And where I get invited to, I get invited to. And if I don't like where I'm getting invited to, then grow myself to qualify to be invited to do those things. But to keep score is a negative aspect, and I think it really kills influence of that. So,
well, as I wrap up, first of all, if you have not to date read John's latest book, High Road Leadership, Perry and I would highly recommend that you do that. We actually, as a team, took a chapter a week and went through it and talked about it. There are so many good principles in there because there are so many things in teams and organizations and in the world that are trying to divide us and put those thoughts in our head, social media, different things. And you can differentiate yourself in a hurry if you just take that book, learn it, and apply it in your life every day. I want to encourage you to do that. We pulled a couple of things today out of that book. Number one is that we gave you these 3 rules, 1 through 3. I want you to sit down and want you to look at it saying, hey, am I keeping track or keeping score? What does that look like? And how's that showing up for me? Am I forgiving everyone? What you talked about, so powerful. And then the platinum rule. How are we treating others? Are we treating them better than we would treat ourselves? And begin a self-assessment and have some conversations around that. I think it'll lead to fascinating conversations.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. And just a reminder, if you'd like to get the learner guide for this episode, if you'd like to learn more about our offerings or about our other podcast episodes in the podcast family, you can do all that at maxwellleadership.com/podcast. If you want to leave us a question or a comment, we always love hearing from you, and we're very grateful you'd spend this time with us. That's all today from the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast.
Are you ready to elevate your leadership to new heights? Join the movement towards High Road Leadership with John C. Maxwell's latest book. In High Road Leadership, John explores the power of valuing all people, doing the right things for the right reasons, and placing others above personal agendas. Learn how to inspire positive change and bring people together in a world that divides. Order now and receive exclusive bonuses, including a keynote on High Road Leadership by John Maxwell himself and a sneak peek into 3 impactful chapters. Take the first step towards becoming a High Road leader. Visit highroadleadershipbook.com to order your copy today.